Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And following FA Cup fourth round weekend and the fifth round draw, I can tell you we have our projected FA Cup finalists with us. First of all, it's Manchester City correspondent Jonny Pringle. How are you, Johnny?
Good, thank you, James. Thanks for having me on again.
Very welcome, mate. And our Newcastle correspondent Simon Bibby's in. How are you, Si?
Yeah, doing very well, thanks, James. Nice to see you again, Johnny.
We are pre-recording this straight after the FA Cup fifth round draw on Monday evening. Johnny, Plymouth at home. That'll do, wouldn't it?
It will. It makes a change again from Real Madrid, doesn't it?
That's tomorrow night. It also makes a change to playing Liverpool at home, which I guess is what you could have had. And side reaction to Brighton at home.
I mean, we lost the home game against them in the league. It's one of those transition teams that we've struggled against this season. So we'll take a home tie, especially after that bruising Birmingham City game. So can't complain.
Johnny, where you at with City at the moment?
Better than last time. It was obviously rock bottom last time, to be honest. Didn't think we could win a football game, but it's got slightly better. The fixtures have got easier, so we've obviously managed to string a few wins together. We still aren't perfect. We've made obviously a few signings and got a few more players fit again. League's obviously gone. Champions League's going to be very difficult given the draw we've got. I think the FA Cup is probably our best bet of a trophy. Um, Hard to sort of say. I think we just need to give it a go.
How important is that to win a trophy?
I think it is important. I think like when you look at teams who have sort of like successful eras, I used to think Chelsea did this well in the years they didn't win the league. They still managed to just nick trophies, didn't they? Just kept that silverware ticking along. And I think, like I said, with the teams that have gone out, with Arsenal and Liverpool out now, especially Chelsea and Tottenham as well. I know other teams will be eyeing it up as a good year to win a trophy, but City have to be eyeing it up as a good year just to, like I say, just keep that silverware ticking over.
I think, therefore, I'm just trying to think later in the season here. Obviously, with the draw you've just had, you're obviously very likely to go through. Can you foresee a scenario where the FA Cup became a priority in the running, rather over than the top of league form? I guess it depends if you're fourth, fifth, sixth, third, where you are in the league, I guess, right?
Maybe, but I think the fact that we've just said the quarterfinals are blocked out, so it's not like there's any sort of like awkward fixtures around there. Um, yeah, I say maybe when it gets to the semis, I think we have had that in the past where I think you end up with the Champions League quarterfinals just before the FA Cup semi-final, and we've ended up sort of just burning ourselves out and completely rotating in the semi-final. Um, we might be out of the Champions League by then. But it'll be interesting to see this year, if we do get to that point, what he'll do.
Well, I don't suppose anybody pre-season had City and Madrid in a playoff on their bingo card for early February, but here we are. You fancy your chances?
Again, if you'd have asked me a month ago, I'd have been like, absolutely no chance. I still think we're unlikely to go through, just given how fragile we are. What's given me a glimmer of hope is their injuries at the back and the fact that we've got a few players back from injury now. I think Diaz, Stones, Ake, Edison are back now, so we can put a decent defense together. I think it's just that obviously massive gap in midfield um, that will cost us. But yeah, I fancy us more than I did last week or when the draw was made.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of vulnerability in Madrid at the moment. I think, like, particularly Rudiger's quite fancied the battles against Haaland previously, isn't he? And it
Yeah.
sounds like he's going to be unavailable. It feels like a tie that's probably going to have a lot of goals. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think so. And this is why I think the way the legs fall, the fact that they're at home second, I think just the classic, they know what they'll need to do in front of their home crowd. That might be a telling factor as well. I'd much prefer to be going to the Bernabeu tomorrow night and be at the Etihad next week. I don't sort of know what a good result will be tomorrow. I feel like a two-goal lead is almost like a minimum.
Right. Okay. It probably doesn't help the fact you've got a very tough challenge ahead of you in the league this weekend as well. You could have done with something easier on paper than Newcastle, couldn't you?
Yeah, the fixtures have fallen like quite nasty. We've got quite a difficult run. I think it's Madrid, Newcastle, Madrid, Liverpool, Spurs, something like that.
Sorry.
Don't chuck them in there.
Yeah, but it's
I will chuck Spurs in City's tough fixtures. But
side with a kryptonite, aren't we?
You're like
They
the
only beat
only
us when we
bogey
let them.
team. Strange.
Imagine Spurs being your bogey team.
I know.
To be honest, we were discussing in the car on the way up to Villa Sunday. If we played you 38 times, we might qualify for the Champions League, mate. You're the only team we've seen to play all right against.
Apart
Si,
from if Arsenal need to win the league.
yeah. Si, congratulations on reaching the Carabao Cup final, mate. That was two very good performances against Arsenal, mate.
Yeah, very good. I'd say almost more impressive the second leg, the way that we handled the occasion. I think the fans were somewhat nervous, but you didn't see that from the players at all. Yeah, Arsenal missed a couple of chances early on, but yeah, Eddie Howe coming up with another masterstroke of a game plan. No one really saw that formation, I think, pre-game, particularly when I think they mentioned this on the broadcast commentary that the team was warming up in a four at the back
He's done
formation.
that before.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely. No, impressive. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal just like shit the bed every time they come to St James's anyway. You could kind of see it. I think after the first 20 minutes, we started to get on top of that game, and yeah, it was relatively comfortable, to be honest.
When you hear me and Johnny talking about the importance of City winning a trophy this year and how long it's been for you, how does that sound? Is that like madness for you to think the importance of City almost not going a season without winning a trophy yet? It's been you'll count years. It's been the rest of us have stopped counting.
It's like 70 odd. It's like a different sport, to be honest, when it comes to us thinking about winning a trophy. It's like we're playing a different game to everyone else. It's just, yeah, it's strange. I think we'll be looking out now. We're in the final again, 2 years on, for how we approach it differently. I think 2 years ago it was very emotional. You saw a lot of the stuff that the club was putting out was like letters from like family members, and like apparently players were like crying before the game and stuff. I think Eddie's going to have learned from that, and I think the players, because it's pretty much the same bulk of players that are returning 2 years later, I think we'll approach it differently. Different challenge. I think going in as underdogs against Liverpool could help us. We've saved our best performances for all the big teams this season. So yeah, if we're going to end that drought, why not win it again? Do it against the Premier League champions to be, I guess.
Does it feel like you need Joel Linton back for it?
For that type of game, yeah. I think it's interesting if you look at the games that we've lost, particularly the ones at home this season. You could point to him being and his ability on the ball being a slight weakness for us, which makes this weekend interesting, coming against Man City. So I actually think with the options that we've got on there, it might work in our favour. But yeah, it's a couple of weeks. I think they've got the final and potentially like a couple of games before in mind for him to come back for. I would be surprised and disappointed if he wasn't back. But Eddie Howe's probably not going to start him in that game if he's not played in the game before that. So we'll see.
What do you mean about
West Ham away.
Those two home defeats to Bournemouth and Fulham?
Yeah, he talks about kryptonite. I think Eddie has shown he struggles against a particular type of team. I think there is a blueprint for how to beat us, and it's those kind of good, solid Premier League teams that can defend well, transition well. And you've seen it even going back to last season. I know we've got Forest coming up on the schedule. We lost that game, and I think that was one of the first ones that was a bit of a shock last year. But it's the similar sort of teams that we lose to. Go goal behind. It's West Ham, Brighton, Fulham. Those sort of teams. Forest last year, and I think the game coming up is going to be a tricky one at home as well. It's just, I feel like we're not quite at that level where we've identified a way to play against those sort of teams. It's either that or potentially a mentality issue with the team. I just think if we'd have made one or two more signings either last summer or in January, I think the team, I just don't think they're like in the mentality of winning every game in the league and trying to compete for a title. They're good enough to do it, but you can see how they get up for the big games. That's kind of where their heads at, really. And it's the bottom of the league where we can blow teams apart and smash them. It's those kind of like middling good Premier League teams that we struggle against. And yeah, I think Eddie needs to address that in the summer for sure.
You'd be surprised if I told you got the ninth best home record in the league.
Well, no, because I know how many games we've lost. You expect St James's Park to be a fortress. That's the kind of the common thought. But yeah, we've just lost. There's just a lot of very good teams in the Premier League, and if you're not at it, you can get caught out by anyone. Like you've seen with the exception of like, Arsenal, really, and Liverpool, every team is beatable in this league. And if you're not at it on the day, you're going to get turned over. And that's happened to us too many times at home this season.
So from the expected top eight, including your season and Villa from the pre-season to join the greedy six, you've only lost one of those games so far, which was at Chelsea, unbeaten in seven others. So it's kind of full circle here, like more of the ball, more of a problem.
Partly, I just think the players feel like they're at that level, and we've kind of grown as a squad into those big games, and I think we're comfortable playing in those, and we fancy ourselves. So yeah, you can only really, I think, tactically, mentality wise, being comfortable on the ball. We mentioned Joel Linton. I don't feel like those are the sort of games that we necessarily like. He's in our best midfield with 3-4. I'd like to see Lewis Miley get more of a chance in those games where it's more about control and tempo and yeah, it's just one
So,
of those
so
things
not
this
not
season. I
Willock
think we need
because
a
he'd
couple
feel
of
like the
signings.
obvious replacement, no? Being it
Well,
that side as well.
depends what games we're talking about. I'm talking about games past. I
Sure.
think not necessarily for Man City. Yeah, I would. If Gordon's fit, I would like to see Willock given a chance because you've seen again. You talk about our blueprint. You've seen the blueprint of how to hurt Man City this season. I think putting Willock in that team as another transition threat is the way to potentially get some joy this weekend.
Johnny, should people read not too much into the Arsenal game?
I think it's just sort of what we've seen before this season, just like a collapse like that. Just a few goals in quick succession, and then, like I said, just a collapse really at the end. It was a shame because I thought even after a bad start, I thought we made a decent go of it, but yeah, I think it just shows how fragile the team are. That again, just like the one setback can just end up with just the game being put out of sight within minutes. So I think you can take something from that, but that is a recurring pattern that needs to stop this season.
Who's responsible for that? Is that Pep? The fact that the squad is just saying a bit fragile at the moment.
Uh, Maybe I think it's more sort of like experience and again just sort of like rhythm in key positions like defense and midfield. It just feels like maybe it is on Pep because obviously he just doesn't want to sort of like shore things up. He just continues to want to just dominate the ball where maybe we should be a bit more pragmatic, but I would never call for him to do that. He's obviously proven
No,
himself.
I understand. It felt like though you'd obviously won 6-0 at Ipswich, and in the league game against Chelsea, he really did play a flatter and deeper midfield three. And
Yeah.
your protection when you lost the ball looked so much better after kind of a bit of a shaky opening 15 or so. You were kind of in control from there, and I didn't understand that he then deviated from that from another big game at Arsenal.
It was a weird formation, wasn't it? Because
Mm.
when I saw the lineup, I was okay with it, but then I think Marmoush sort of ended up front, Savinho left, and it was just a midfield two of say Bernardo and Kovacic. It just felt like I say a little bit weird. So yeah, again, it was one of them where sort of left thinking, what's Pep done? But like I said, but I didn't think we actually played too badly for most of the game. It was just the collapse after we conceded.
I think you lose a game like that, people are always going to react very negatively to it, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, but I think like
Especially all the kind of online social media nonsense afterwards and stuff. You mentioned Marmoush. What have you made of him so far?
he had a brilliant game against Chelsea, I thought. Maybe a little bit selfish. You could see he was sort of like getting excited, wanted to score. Don't think he played well against Arsenal. Sort of tended to gave the ball away a couple of times. And then I think he just typical sort of FA Cup tie, just got battered about a bit, but he showed glimpses. He looks good. I like his stature. Obviously, he's big, physical, quite athletic. You can tell he's got obviously skill, good shot on him, confident. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more of him.
What's his best position from what you've seen so far?
Well, I've only seen him on the left wing against Chelsea, maybe off the striker against Arsenal, and then up front against Leighton Orient. The best game he's had is against Chelsea. I suspect his best position will actually be just off the striker. But like we just said, I don't think um, the setup was right for him against Arsenal.
Does that, if he's going to play in that area though, does it make it difficult to fit Foden or De Bruyne in with that? And I think particularly De Bruyne, because obviously in the Chelsea game, for example, Foden started off the right and obviously just drifted to wherever he wanted to.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's who we've seen now, De Bruyne. And then when De Bruyne was injured, Alvarez played there, didn't he? So I think we might see a similar thing with Marmoush there.
Who's your number one goalkeeper?
I think Edison, after the last couple of games, Ortega's just shown himself up a little bit. I think just been a bit. The main thing you notice is just his hesitancy, sort of like coming out with his passing. Um, when he sort of like is a bit hesitant like that, you just notice how calm Edison is. Um, yeah, so I think I'd say it's Edison.
Who would you want in goal? Like, who'd you want in goal tomorrow night?
Edison.
Okay, fine. So you got a few injuries racking up. Is this a little bit of a concern? Quite a number of flag players. One of them is Anthony Gordon. I'm an owner. Should I be
Mhm.
worried?
Should you be worried? I think it's potentially a timely excuse for everyone just to move him on. I was looking forward to him playing against Man City. I'm an owner. Um, Also got the ass man chip, but I get to say that on a pod. Active, and I need to make a transfer in order to move that on from Moyes. And it feels like one of those where I think timing wise, if he's got a flag on him, people are just going to move it on and it's City away. But he's returned in 17, I think, of 19 games against the top teams in the league. So the way I saw it, you're effectively transferring out at least one return. And I think he's had a good season. He's been steady. He's just not really hit those explosive heights. He's not really winning as many pens as he was last year. So yeah, it might just be timing wise a good excuse to move on from him. Sad, really, but yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about the other Newcastle assets. So there's obviously a lot of, with us doing well in the cups as well, there's a lot of permutations as to like when you're going to want to dip in and dip out of Newcastle players. And actually, if you want to do that at all, I guess is the question. So I'm in the same boat as everyone else around Gordon. It's probably going to be a transfer out. I think just the fact that he wasn't in the squad was a bit strange. And you looked at our depth in the wing options. We played Osula out on the right against Birmingham, played really well, but it really was just Murphy as the only option. And Eddie always takes two wingers if he can on the bench to sort of alleviate the players that are playing in those positions. So it is a bit of a concern. I don't think it was just a case of giving him a rest. You saw Isak was on the bench and he came on for like 30 seconds. So yeah, there is something there, I feel, and it's probably not a risk that people need to take carrying him forward if he's going to definitely blank in 29, if he is going to blank.
So you're telling me sell.
I think so. I mean, what is it? Monday, there'll be press conferences. Eddie won't say anything.
No,
So
exactly. He's not going to tell me nothing.
you're not going to learn anything new. It's the age old squad dependent thing. I would be gutted, but I think looking at my own team, it feels like I've got a Rogers hole. I sold him a couple of weeks ago, and it feels like that's probably what I'll end up doing is going to Rogers for the double.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm moving on, for me, it's probably a Bournemouth player. One of that midfield trio, I think. Johnny, do you own Gordon?
Do I own Gordon? Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I'm just wondering as well, obviously, with Newcastle, even more so with that draw now, Crystal Palace have had a favourable draw as well. I think, the chance of Newcastle Palace now staying in 29, I'd probably put it under 1% now following that draw. Obviously, you do play in 29. Similar price to Gordon is Marmoush, Johnny.
He's a striker, though, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't be buying him then.
I thought he was going to be a midfielder and was surprised when I saw he was a forward.
That's quite strange that they've done that when obviously Matthias Tell, obviously for us, got priced in as a midfielder. Do you know what? I just assumed he was in as a midfielder, actually.
So did I, until I was playing around with FPL team the other day and I was looking for Marmoush to put in.
Is there an alternative City player I could consider there? Like Savinho, for
Savinho?
example.
Yeah, Savinho's picked up a bit of form since sort of like mid to late December, picking up some numbers. Does look exciting, to be fair, but it's just the age old, will he play or not? So I think it's just going to have to be a sort of like wait and see till the week before if you do want him. We've got a good pair of fixtures, 29 and 30, haven't we? Meaning that any City players you do get in for the double, you want to hold for the week after.
That what I, to be honest, I'd pretty much say, Johnny, once you hit 29, the runnings actually is great for you. I mean, Bournemouth and Fulham are your last two, but up till you got Southampton away 36.
Yeah.
That run now, Brighton, Leicester, United away, Palace at home, Everton, Villa, which could be rearranged, Wolves, Southampton, and then the final two, Bournemouth, Fulham. And to be honest, by that point, they might be on the beach, those two. You don't know. But the four before that's tough, isn't it? Newcastle now, Liverpool, as you said, 26, Tottenham away 27, Forest away 28. Is your view, therefore, on City assets, Johnny, for those who want to invest and are not free hitting 29? Is it wait till 29? Would that
Yeah.
generally speaking be the advice?
Yeah, I think so.
What City you got at the moment?
None.
Sai, any on board?
No City at the moment, no.
Okay. So 29, Johnny, would it be fair to say with Liverpool and Newcastle blanking now, Haaland is best captain 29?
Probably. I was looking at this the other day. Yeah, I think so. But it's obviously how you get him in. Like if you're playing, you could get him in by taking Salah out, couldn't you? But when you lose a lot of money, you're going to want him the other side. So if you free hit him, Haaland's probably a no-brainer. But it's just whether you want to.
Yeah, the intriguing bit is obviously now we'd be projecting you to double Johnny in 33 and Liverpool not. So there is a chance you flip and you just stick with the Norwegian.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it feels quite difficult to do unless you take something like Palmer out. And actually, Chelsea's fixtures, other than 29 itself, are pretty good as well. They've got good
Yeah.
fixtures before and after. Southampton, Leicester before, Tottenham, Brentford, Ipswich afterwards. So he's got good fixtures before and afterwards as well. But I was saying this, are you intending to free hit Johnny 29?
I don't think so. When I've done my plan, um, I think I can get away without doing it and use it in 34. I think if you can do that, I think that's maybe it's just because I'm biased because that's the way I've planned it, but it feels like that would be the best way to do it. I think it's because I've managed to double up Everton defence. I've got Greaves, who's got a fixture. I've got Bumo and Visser, so I've already got a few, and I'm planning on putting Bournemouth in over the next couple of weeks. So all of a sudden, I'll quite easily get up to 8 or 9, and then yeah, can just maybe bring in a couple of City.
I take it from the description of the players you mentioned there, Holland would be part of this plan for you to buy him in 29.
Maybe, like I said, I think I'll have to see what City's forms looks like.
So not for you, something you feel like you've got to do. It's one of my arguments about free hit 29ers. I'll get Haaland to captain him in 29, but then what you don't have him for Leicester at home the week after.
Yeah.
Almost feels like it's just for the perspective of him, it's just go and buy, right?
Yeah.
Si, what you thinking Haaland 29? I mean, would you consider going Isak to Haaland at that point? If you could find a way to do it financially, obviously.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do a sack. He's not going in anywhere for me. You know me. I buy him and sell him 3, 4 times a year since we signed him. Everyone else is going to do it, and they're welcome to. It's just so many transfers. He's just staying in for me if he's fit. I've had a look at it. It's tricky to do. There's been people selling Palmer, and it feels like it's one of those things that everyone just dismisses. But it's really hard to get him, Salah, and Palmer in your team, and particularly so you got. I think you just got to get rid of one of those three. I don't think Isak, like the money wise. Then the problem is if you've got him and Haaland, which I had previously. Yeah, to be honest, I would probably, depending on where you are in your mini leagues and whatever, maybe look at taking on Salah for a bit. But again, I'm just not really thinking about it at the moment until the fixture situations from 30 onwards becomes clear. Build up a few transfers, I think, over the next couple of weeks, and then you're going to need like 3 or 4 to maneuver your squad around. So I think it depends really on, yeah, if you're not free hitting, how heavy are you on Palace? I'd say, like, I haven't got any Palace at the moment, and it's whether I dip into them and then deal with that in 29 or just ignore them and build towards getting a few City players in. But I don't know, man. Brighton at home's it's a tricky one. You don't know which team's going to turn up. Is it
It's
like
not a
the
gimme, is it,
7-0?
Johnny?
That's the thing, yeah. If it was
Mm.
like if we had Southampton at home and then Leicester at home, yeah, it'd be really tempting. But yeah, Brighton's not a slam dunk.
It feels like they're one of those games that everyone's just going to see. Oh, all right, it's a blank, so you've got Brighton at home. But they turn up for the big games. I don't. I think people will kind of buy into this 7-0 Forest, and that's not. I don't think the Brighton that you'll get at Man City. It's definitely not the one that turns up to St James's Park. So yeah, it's like I think you really need to go into 29 with a lot of transfers and make the decision like at that point. It's tough.
So to get Haaland in, you pretty much probably got to take one of Salah, Palmer out, probably, or Isak, and you start shoving other little bits about as well. Isak, we know, could even have a situation where he's got kind of two doubles in a couple of weeks after the blank, possibly. The Palace fiction needs rearranging. There's every chance which will need rearranging. In theory, they could both be played prior to game week 34. It's not even possible you had back to backs. And after the cup final side, you've got Brentford at home, Leicester away, United at home anyway. So I'd rather he was sitting there. Salah's got Southampton at home 28, Everton at home 30, then Fulham, West Ham, Leicester, Tottenham. And it's just looking at Palmer, you think, oh, that's the one because he's got Arsenal 29. Across 6 game weeks, 27 to 32, Palmer's got all three promoted teams at home and Doctor You Know Who.
It's
So it might
Marmoush
be a
then,
case
isn't
of what
it?
you said, taking on Mo. I wonder even about that, just going Haaland 29, 30, and then back maybe even. If particularly maybe if you were still in the Champions League, Johnny, and maybe if you're not, just keep going with him.
Yeah.
If you were to free hit Johnny 29, which I know you said you'd probably buy him, free City would be because you would go free City, wouldn't you? Surely,
Yeah, but it'd probably be Haaland. I wouldn't want to get a defender. Um,
not even Vardy on that.
maybe,
You'd have
yeah,
the money, wouldn't you?
maybe
Wouldn't be a
that.
problem.
And then I think like one of Savinho or Marmoush sort of like close to the time. See who's more likely to play.
That's interesting. Rather than Foden,
Oh yeah, of course, it's Phil and Foden and
you've forgotten about him, mate. He's been better recently, isn't
Foden. Yeah, like he hit a real hot streak, didn't he? The people who gambled on him as a Saka replacement came up nice for them, but then who did we play where he struggled against Arsenal? Obviously, thought well everyone struggled against them, didn't they? Yeah, Phil would be a good Foden would be a good shout.
he?
Like, and I think it just depends like close to the time. Like if he doesn't play, then maybe De Bruyne, or if he doesn't play.
I could see if Trent stays fit between now and then, I could see Trent Savardio in 29 being quite popular, mate.
Yeah,
So I was eyeing that up and I was looking at, for me, obviously, if I didn't go down the Haaland route, which might be difficult doing it on free transfers, maybe even gambling on Foden captaincy in 29.
yeah, maybe. When are you wildcarding, though?
Oh, yeah, for someone who's not got many chips, mate, I don't know yet, mate. 32 or 35, I'd say, probably, most likely one or the other.
You haven't
Yeah,
spunked that one yet, James. It's just all the rest
No,
of
no,
them.
no, 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 not intentionally. Yeah, I
Mm.
nearly did, but not yet, mate.
that's what because that's where I'm thinking because I'm planning wildcarding just after, well, like say sometime in them early 30s. So it's just like you're talking about sort of like carrying players through and doing these transfers. I'm more seeing it as, oh, how far can I get past 29
Mm.
or I just pull the trigger on a wild card?
But it said your fixtures are great from 29, right? So if you do carry City on the other side, you're happy. You wouldn't buy it. There's no City player you'd buy in 29 and then sell in 30 unless you thought they weren't going to play for whatever reason. You'd
What,
keep
That's
going.
the thing. That's where it's like it's a good like just 1 or 2 week punt, isn't it?
when are we going to know the doubles and stuff, James? Is it
Oh,
after the
listen to yesterday's
32?
podcast, lazy.
I have
Which ones
listened
do
to
you want to
it. It
know?
was just like the permutations you threw. You used to do different types of chips, and I would appreciate if you went back to the chunky chips and the
All
curly
right.
fries and all that. I like that. I felt like it was
All
easier
right.
to digest that way. But I
But
think it's
these
the
days you got to have
32
like
deadline.
skin on fries and all that now, aren't you? It's a
Yeah,
bit different now.
yeah, vegan fries and stuff. Yeah. I think am I right in thinking it's that if you play the wild card in 30, you're not going to know what
I'm very
the
scared
full
about
layout
that.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of want to ride it through at least 30 and then get to 31 and start
Which
having
is
some fun
another
at that
reason
point.
why also I don't really want to sell the Newcastle players I have. So Gordon, I agree. I was always looking at maybe moving that this week anyway. Hall, I'm up really good money on. Isak, I'm up a million on. I kind of want to carry them two players. Have you got?
Yeah, I've been tripled up, and it was working quite nicely for the last couple of weeks. Hall, I think if I would, I think you want to play him quite sparingly based on the slight fixture congestion we've got coming up, distraction of cup finals. It'll be interesting to see how we do in the next couple of games. I think last time we got to the cup final, the 3 games in between the semi and the final, we drew. I actually looked at this, so I don't mind pretending I don't know. We drew a Bournemouth, drew at West Ham, then lost to Liverpool, and then played Man United in the final. So again, like I was saying earlier about like what are the differences now between 2 years ago? Like, are we going to be able to run through and kind of consistently keep that form up? It feels like as a fourth, fifth option, great. Like there's even like things like Bournemouth defenders I kind of fancy a bit more. So yeah, if you've built up a lot of money in him and you view him as someone that you bought at 4-4 or 4-3, or whatever it was at his cheapest point, then great. Just stick him on your bench. Almost like I can't wait to get rid of Mikalenko, to be honest, unless you tell me that they're going to be doubling again, because he's been the fifth option for me, and I'd quite like to almost move Hall into that position in my squad. And then I'd be looking at Howson as probably someone that I'd honestly probably try and play more. I'm just not sure how many clean sheets we're going to keep between now and the end of the season. I think
Genuinely can tell you another Everton double would be impossible unless there is something weird, weather, monarchy, something like that.
Fantastic. So I can get rid of Mikalenko finally.
They got some good fixtures built into the blank though, in fairness, haven't they? On Hall's side, to be honest, over the 4 weeks between now and the blank, and actually let's just include the blank, I'd be starting in one out of the next 5.
Perfect.
Which would be Forest at home. So I think even for me, West Ham away in 28, but Colwell at home to Leicester, I'd possibly chance that. That wouldn't be close. I'll make that decision then. But for the City and Liverpool away games, no, I wouldn't intend to start him.
No.
But I would not dream of benching Isak in any fixture.
No. What? People
are going to ask me this week that some of the benching headaches this week, Si, are going to be things like benching Wood at Fulham, Bumo at West Ham. And I know people are going to say to me, well, what about Isak at City?
He's just rinsed the 2 Arsenal centre backs. Like how? What really? I can't believe that.
I'm telling you, people will be asking me if Isak should be benched this week.
He's played 30 seconds in the FA Cup. He's good to go. No, absolutely not. No, that's ridiculous, man. I can see Johnny shaking his head as well. You know,
Isak owner, I take it, Johnny.
Yeah,
benching him this week.
Nah.
No, it's not like, with all due respect, it's not peak City at the moment, is it? It's not a fixture to fear if you've got a fantasy forward as good as Alexander Isak, I don't think.
He does well in the big fixtures as well.
I wouldn't dream of benching him, no, not at all.
Are we selling him?
For me, I'm not, well, I guess that's another point, isn't it? So I'd be plenty tempted to go Isak to Watkins now, right?
Good luck to him.
If he's fit.
They'll be buying him back at least once more this season if they do that. Trust me.
Yeah, but people might be able to wild card and do that, right?
Yeah, I mean he's still under 10 million, and you'd expect Newcastle players' prices to drop in the next couple of weeks anyway. So whatever money you've got saved up now, I think look at it more in terms of transfers spent rather than money. Like you got to be prepared to take a bit of a hit on these players, which is why I'm annoyed about Gordon really, because if I sell him now, I make +1 on him, but I really fancied him in the City fixture.
Yeah, I don't really want to sell him. Sorry, actually.
No,
I'm quite happy to hold till I got a bit more info, but I think chances are Eddie Howe's going to leave me hanging. I'm looking at Bournemouth about to play Southampton Wolves, and know that opens up potential money. You know what else it might open up if I sell Gordon to one of them two? It might open up the possibility of me putting the assistant managership on Eddie Howe in 26, mate. Under this potential unlikely scenario where if you lost this weekend and Villa won twice in a double, you might find Nottingham Forest at home as a bonus fixture in 26.
Yeah, I mean that would mean that the pressure would be really on for us because we'd be in 8th place in that scenario, 7th.
Yeah, but it'd be very condensed. It wouldn't be as bad as it would look.
Yeah, played really well at the City ground in the league and cup this season. Lost at home to Chris Woods. I mean, that really was his coming out party last year when he banged that hat trick in. He's not really looked back since, has he? He always scores against old teams. So that's definitely not a gimme. They are. If you look at they're the ones that really came up with the archetype of how to beat us at St James's Park, and a few other teams have copied it since then.
It's definitely not a gimme, but the idea of having Newcastle in a home game with that
Yeah, you
potential
take it.
bonus at home to Forest,
I mean,
if it did
yeah,
happen, well, I think would really appeal.
yeah, because you got idiots like me that are just trying to take on Liverpool with the chip every week.
Did you
So
say you're active now?
yeah, I played it on Moyes last week, so I'm
And what are
probably
you planning
moving
to
to
do this week?
Emery. I think for two reasons. One, you look. Yeah, I know Liverpool played a reserve team in the cup, but you can like sniff that. It'll be interesting to see what happens at Everton. Maybe they just bounce straight back and hammer them, and then it looks like a stupid idea. But I don't know, I've just got a feeling about it, and also the benefit is then you don't have to transfer a bunch of Villa players in and then transfer them out again. So that solves two things. But I do need to. I only got one 0.1 in the bank, so I need to make a transfer to make that Moyes to Emery transfer happen. I've got three free transfers. But yeah, I do like the idea of 26. Everyone talked about when this chip came out, targeting Forest, and if it works out that way, you would see a very motivating Newcastle going
Yeah,
into that game.
it's not a slight on Forest. It's just
No,
Newcastle at St James's Park.
yeah, I'd take it on as long as at the same time, given the results we've had against those type of teams
Yeah,
at
it's
home
true.
this season.
Yeah, you've lost
Yeah,
to Bournemouth and Fulham. Yeah, I hear you.
yeah. So it does come with that caveat, but yeah, any opportunity to get table bonus that's not playing Liverpool, I guess you have to look at seriously.
It's on the telly, that Forest game. Would that help? Is there anything psychologically in that? Mind you, Bournemouth was on the telly as well, wasn't it?
Not really. If it's a day, what's is it? That's
It's
not
on
a
the
Monday night
Sunday. It's the
game.
early kickoff when City play Liverpool.
Yeah, you want the night games. The more
Mm.
time that all the Geordies can get drunk, the better the atmosphere. So if
I
it's an
think that
early game,
early kickoffs for Newcastle, I'm just a bit like, oh,
yeah, it's a
time
bit
to play him.
cold up there. It
Yeah,
just reeks of it
mm,
reeks of like potential banana skin, and we've seen it
see.
before. But I would if you're in that position, and I'm going to have the assistant manager chip in 26, and I've made no decision. I'll just see what happens at the deadline on that one as to what the table bonus opportunities are. But if that is a table bonus game, I will be. Yeah, that's another reason to potentially move Gordon on, as you said. If you want to free up that slot just in
Yeah, it's
case.
intriguing that. It's unlikely to land that. I mean, for starters, you need Villa to win both games. You need you to lose, and you also need the most likely result is obviously
What?
Bournemouth to win at Southampton.
Well, I'm going to get 4 wins from my assistant manager chip, so it's going to happen.
I discussed it on Monday. The double of Emery and then Howe could be. I mean, that's the mega haul if you got it. Because for this all to work out, you'd have to hit the bonus twice, and
Hmm.
yeah, you're laughing from there actually. Johnny, you given any thought to Pep, assistant manager? I guess
Yeah,
in a
I
weird
am.
way, it appeals quite a bit, doesn't it? Because even from listening to you now, it feels like other than maybe free hitting in 29, do I ever want three Manchester City players at the moment?
Nah. And yeah, I have thought about it actually. Like I played the assistant managership in 24 on slot. So I've got the money to go straight there. And yeah, it
For
could
the
be
for a bonus against Liverpool, what if you get beat this weekend, basically?
if it was a bonus. Um yeah, maybe. It's worth considering.
Ah, intriguing. Yeah. But later in the season, there's a few definitely you could have a look at as well. Particularly, obviously, if it is double 33, United, Palace, then double, or even the other side. Even if you didn't, I look at you playing Wolves, Southampton 35, 36. If the Bournemouth fixture got brought forward from 37 to 36, i.e., if one of you was in the final and it got brought forward, that would hugely appeal as well.
Yeah.
Wolves, Southampton, and Bournemouth as part of a double. Yeah, and then probably take on the extra fixture maybe with someone else 37. Yeah, the idea of having a Manchester City asset who I know will definitely start is quite appealing, Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
That's
nice. The
always
only
been the
time we ever
problem.
gonna get.
Yeah. Do you think if it went wrong against Madrid, could you foresee Pep having a consistent lineup for the rest of the season in the league?
Yeah, maybe. It's something that I have sort of called for this season, and I think something that I think we always struggle with is just again I can talk about that consistent defense for like there's just the different centre half pairings just frustrate me. Um I remember it was the lockdown season, the 2021 season, when we were struggling, and he just said, "Right, fuck it, Stones and Diaz for the rest of the season," and he just completely shut Laporte out the team, and that was when our defense was at its best, and that is something I'd like to see. It's just right, decide your best back four and midfielder in front of them, and just play them in the league if we end up going out.
I mean, I certainly have sympathies with what he's had defensively in terms of injuries this season. I mean, think back to the lineup you played at, say, Brighton, which
Yeah.
was at the start of like a really bad run and was so short at that point. What did you make of our mate Kusanov's debut?
But it was mad, wasn't it? It was he gave away the goal, got booked, then gave away the ball. I was like, oh my God, did we just take him off? But
I'd thought that as well. You might need to.
just looking around me, and I was like, I think we need to take him off. Um, but to be fair, he recovered a bit, and
Did.
he showed something against Leighton Orient. I know it's Leighton Orient, but the thing that like with people say about him is that it's his recovery pace and sort of athleticism and aggression, and you can see that. He's obviously going to be very raw. He's young, isn't he? And he hasn't played that many top flight games. It's a really interesting signing. I think this aspect of Newcastle link. Hugo Viana as the new director of football, I think, has already had influences in that. People are saying that, well,
Love him.
when City would buy from teams like, let's say, Brighton, who are a very good example of this, who would go and pluck targets like this, whether City just going directly for them. Because
Interesting.
it is interesting.
What did you make of the 20 minutes you did see of Nico Gonzalez at the weekend? Where do we stand with him? What happened to him?
I think it was the amazing goal they scored. They just nicked the ball off him, and I think a fella landed on him quite awkwardly, and I think just basically an impact injury against his hip. I did wonder whether it was a bit of a Spanish midfielder away to Leighton Orient, not really fancying
Oh, you
this.
cynic.
It's freezing, it's raining, and he's getting battered and thinking, nah. I don't know much about him. What we've been told is that he's 6'2", mobile, combative, can pass. It's just sounds good because it's just exactly what we haven't had in midfield this season. I don't think he's a perfect sort of like for Rodri, but I think he's the type of player who will be able to play with him after because he's been getting forward for Porto scoring goals. So
He's
yeah.
not a six though, is he? From what I know.
No, and I don't think we're ever going to sign a six, to be fair. I think like that's the trap we fall into, especially when we signed Phillips, and because you're just never going to play the games that you want. So it has to be someone who can sort of like play in a double pivot when Roger's injured and then maybe with him when he's back.
Must be
In
nice to sign some players, eh?
Well, Si, what have you made of that? Is it just complete PSR restriction, is it?
Yeah, I think I think the hope is that with a few outgoings, rest in peace, Miguel Almiron, we will go quite hard at it in the summer. And we got to, right? Like all that, all this clobber that everyone's been buying, there's got to be some money floating around somewhere that we can spend. So if I know you said this enough times with Spurs as well. If the targets aren't there, don't go for them. I do think we probably made some inquiries, but at the end of the day, felt like the squad we could just about get through without Europe with the cup competitions. Although in the last week it looks like there've been a few injuries. Um, but you know me, I'm a big Lakers fan, so we traded for Luka Doncic. So in that regard, if you don't know who he is, absolute superstar. So that side of my brain is happy. I can almost live with Newcastle not doing anything because that was a ridiculous situation on the other team that I love. But yeah, you just got to hope that we can get through the season, no major injuries, finish in a high enough place that we can retain the squad and build on it in the summer.
How Newcastle would it be to wait all this time for a trophy and then win two?
I can't even. That's just, I honestly, I think about it now. It's just like, would I have any tears left in my body if we actually won a trophy? I don't know. It just feels like it's never going to happen. It would just be the most bizarre, weird scenario if it did happen. But
It,
we're
it,
primed for it.
it was interesting. I only caught the end of your game Saturday night, and I don't know who was commentating, but he said it is inevitable that Newcastle are going to win a trophy, and he wasn't specifically saying this season.
It's really
But
not.
I was thinking, I don't think Newcastle fans think it is. Almost
No.
like you won't believe it till it happens, kind of gig.
Yeah, it's hard to win trophies. Really hard. And particularly when you've had to do it the way that we've had to, where it felt like everything was going to get handed to us on a Saudi silver platter, and it's not panned out that way. But I'm happy for Eddie that he's got us into this position again, because there were, I think, just a growing frustration of the fan base, not necessarily with him, but just that we've been restricted so much. But to get to the League Cup final 2 times in 2 years, first Manchester to do it since the 60s. Yeah, I just hope for him that he's the one that can kind of get us over the line and win something.
Wish you luck, mate. Quick fire for both of you before we finish. Firstly, Si, Nick Pope in goal at the weekend or Dubravka?
I think it will be Dubs again. I don't know whether that's the right decision or not. I think it will be. I think until we have he has a howler, but he's let 4 in against Bournemouth and then 2 against I think it'll be Dubs again. Whether that's the
Okay.
right decision or not, I would personally rather just see Nick Pope get back in there. But yeah.
Okay. And for you, Johnny, at which point am I buying 4.7 Oscar Bob? Which week are we all buying him, mate?
I was hoping we'd have bought him already, but he seems to have a little bit of a setback. Um,
I guess more the question is, do you see him being managed carefully? Or
yeah,
obviously going into pre-season, it really looked like there was a strong chance he was going to start the season, right?
yeah, he'll be managed carefully. He'll be eased back in. But if he plays like he was in pre-season, I could see him playing a lot of minutes.
Mm. Yeah, one certainly to monitor in forthcoming weeks. Thank you both very much, gents. Johnny, good luck against Madrid. Si, good luck for that final, mate. Let's do correct score predictions. Johnny,
I'm going to go 1-1.
Si,
I was going to be very confident and say 3-1 win if we got to roll out that 3 at the back slash 5 at the back with trips in the team formation. But we've got injuries at the back now, so it's really hard. I honestly don't know what team we're going to be able to put out. But I still think we'll do it. I think based on past results against big teams, I'm going to say 3-2 Newcastle.
Botman not expected to make it. I know there's a Dan
It's
Burn
got like
concern now.
Botman's got apparently a bit of an issue with his other knee, and I don't know whether that's sometimes when you come back from those serious knee injuries, you can overcompensate on the other
Yeah.
side. So he's a risk. He's a doubt. Burns a doubt with the groin. We've obviously sold Kelly, so I mean, if it's Kraft and Shah playing centre backs, then it's still all right. But it doesn't mean we have to play 4 at the back, and it kind of just impacts the rest of the team. I think that 5 that we rolled out against Arsenal, where can I just shout out one person before we leave? I know you said like final
No,
thoughts,
no,
please.
no.
FPL legend Kieran Trippier. You're gonna like this.
Yeah, I know.
I,
Right in Gabriel's face and Havertz's face. And,
I felt he's an FPL legend, and he's someone that links to 3 of our clubs. So I just wanted to make sure I got a shout out to Kieran Trippier for just trying to make Arsenal players cry, not hurt them, but just like physically make them break down in tears to the point where Rice went over to him because he was screaming in Lewis Kelly's face. Absolute legend. But yeah, I'm hoping it has a bit of a good end to the season. But yeah, I was really hoping to come on and say 3-1, but I don't know. Just see what
I
injuries.
said last week that if you had a really good week, I'd fancy you to go to City and win the landing of the game for City in between the 2 Madrid games. And if you
Yeah,
were just on the right
let's do it.
frame of mind, then I'd think, yeah, with the pace up front of Isak, Gordon, etc. But I hadn't factored in Joel Linton getting injured, Gordon obviously being a big doubt, and your problems defensively. So I think the prediction is kind of held off based on the team news that Eddie Howe won't give me. Therefore, I'm going to bottle it, and I think I'm probably at the moment. If you're really missing them players, I'd have to fancy City. But if they all play, I fancy
Fair
you
enough.
actually, Si. No, genuinely.
Yeah.
Have you got a Miguel Almiron poem or anything? Or
Oh man, I've just told you I've been busy with life stuff this week, so I've not had a chance. And to be fair, he's not quite at the Alan St. Maximin level in my heart, but I can guarantee I'll be writing more than a poem if Isak leaves in the summer before I come on next time. So look forward to that.
actually, Good point. Johnny, final word on Kyle Walker?
Um, I think, well, I was going to say City legend. Obviously, brilliant servant for the club, won an awful lot. Absolute elite fullback in his prime. So key to us winning so many trophies, Premier League, Champions League in the end. Shame to see how he fizzled out. Probably stayed 1 or 2 seasons too long. Think it ended in less than ideal circumstances. But wish him all the best.
Yeah, sad the way it ended because yeah, it has been. I think to be honest, when he left us, he probably did better for you than we thought he would. Because
Yeah.
it was a pace merchant, no doubt about that, and really good offensively. He developed his game massively actually, and did very well for him. All right, gents, thank you both very much. Johnny, anything to plug?
Um, well, just my FPL Twitter account, FPL Pringle, and my personal one, MCFC Pringle, if you just want my City spouting.
Yeah, your spouting on that one's a bit better quite often actually, mate. Si, anything for you, mate?
No, not really. The usual Patreon, follow James and everything, chip pods, all that sort of stuff.
Slancher. Cheers. Thank you, mate. Got one more clash of correspondence for you this week. Leicester versus Arsenal with Sam Martin and Adam Pritchard on Thursday. Clayton will be back with me for the Clayton and James show on Wednesday. We'll include a breakdown of City's game with Real Madrid. Just leaves me to say thanks very much, Johnny, Si. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please, man. Show.